מזמור השיר ליום השבת, מזמור השיר ליום השבת. שימחני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך ארנן. הגדלו מעשיך אדוני מאוד עמדו, מחשבותיך מזמור שיר, מזמור שיר ליום השבת, מזמור שיר, מזמור שיר ליום השבת. ורסתיך לי לעולם, ורסתיך לי במשפט ובצדק ובחסד וברחמים וברצון.
ורסתיך לי לעולם,
I shall not fear at all. Adon olam asher emalav b'terem kol yetzir nivra yetzir nivra le'et nasa b'chefzot kol azai melech shmo nikra
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you all for being here this morning. It's a beautiful day, and we have really a little surprise for all of you here in the sanctuary. Also, whoever is watching online, as we have a special guest who is going to lead services this morning. But before that, I just realized the importance of having two people on stage, or like on the bima, because sometimes when the rabbi speaks, I can do things behind the scenes if something is forgotten or goes wrong. I just realized all the lights are not turned on. So who is going to speak while I'm going back and turn on the lights? I don't know. That's a good question. No, I'll do that. I know where they are. So, so Rabbi Litvak is not here today. He has an important mission to fulfill. He is with a family that requested the Torah to go. If you know what the Torah to go is, this is the Torah that we put in this acrylic case that was built, and they take the Torah home for a week. And Rabbi, in this case today, he's now with that family who requested that Torah to go, and is having like a little service with them and explaining all about the Torah. So this is very exciting for us, the young families from our GAN Sinai, and whoever is interested in having this experience, you can always request that through the synagogue office. So in a moment I'm going to turn on the lights. Don't worry about that. I will take the opportunity when the next person who is going to lead service will come to the bima and help me while I'm doing that behind the scenes. 2 weeks ago, we had the bar mitzvah of a young man, Fernando Asael. This is the last of the family. and he did a fantastic job. This was on the weekday morning, on the 14th, so this was Thursday morning. So our usual regular viewers did not have the opportunity to enjoy what he did, how he was prepared for the occasion. And I asked him, why don't you come again and lead prayers as you did on your Bar Mitzvah day, now on the Shabbat, so that this becomes also part of a communal experience. And that's why he's here. He even prepared another Torah portion for this occasion. So thank you, Fernando, because now you lighten my load. I don't have to read Torah today because Fernando is doing that. So with that, I want to invite Fernando Asael to help us lead the prayers for this Shabbat.
Okay.
Okay. Will you sing the Matovu? I'm going to turn on the lights. Okay. So we commence our service. 1 second, let me see. So many things I need to do now. Let me see. Okay, we commence our service on page 192 with Matovu.
מה טובו אוהליך יעקב משכנותיך ישראל מה טובו אוהליך יעקב משכנותיך Israel. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who formed the human body with skill, creating the body's many pathways and openings. It is well known before your throne of glory that if one of them be wrongly opened or closed, it will be impossible to endure and stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals all flesh, working wondrously. Baruch atah Adonai, rofeh chol basar umafli la'asot. My God, the soul you have given me is pure. You created it, you shaped it, you breathed it into me, and you protect it within me. For as long as my soul is within me, I offer thanks to you, Adonai, my God, and God of my ancestors, source of all creation, sovereign of all souls. Praised are you, Adonai, in whose hand is every living soul and the breath of humankind. Baruch atah Adonai, asher beyado nefesh kol chai, veruach kol basar ish.
Page 198, Nisim bechol yom. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lasachvi bina leavkim ben yom uben laila.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, patir asurim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, zokef kefufim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, roka haaretz al hamayim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamechin mitzadei gafer.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumihim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hanoten li'aev koach.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, amavir sheina me'einai, utnuma me'afapai.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בצלם אלוהים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בן חורין.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני ישראל.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוזר ישראל בגבורה.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוטר ישראל בתפארה.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו לעסוק בדברי תורה.
Amen. O Adonai our God, let the words of Torah be sweet in our mouths and the mouths of your people Israel, so that we, our descendants, and the descendants of all your people Israel, may know you by studying your Torah for its own sake. Blessed are you, Adonai, who teaches Torah to your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, hamelamed Torah le'amo Israel. אלו דברים שיש להם שיעור, אלו דברים שיש להם שיעור, אלו דברים שיש להם שיעור, ואלו הם. אלו דברים שיש להם שיעור, אלו דברים שיש להם שיעור, אלו דברים שיש להם שיעור, ואלו. These are things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruits of this world, while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study, morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer, and making peace among people, but the study of Torah encompasses them all. We continue on page 212. ברוך שאמר והיה העולם ברוך הוא, ברוך עושה וראשית, ברוך אומר ועושה, ברוך גוזר ומקיים, ברוך מרחם על הארץ, ברוך מרחם על הבריות, ברוך משלם זכר טוב רעיו, ברוך חי לעד וקיים לנצח, ברוך פוטר ומציל, ברוך שמו. One God, life of the universe, praised and glorious ruler, your name is eternal. Blessed are you, Adonai, sovereign who is glorified through praise. Baruch atah Adonai, melech me'olal batishpachot.
Amen. We continue with Ashrei, page 215.
אשרי יושבי ביתך, אור יהללוך סלה.
אשרי העם שככה לו, אשרי העם שאדוני אלוהיו.
תהילה לדוד, ארמים אלוהי המלך, ועברכם שמך לעולם ועד.
בכל יום אברכך, והללה שמך לעולם ועד.
גדול אדוני מהולל מאוד, ולגדולתו אין חקר.
דור לדור ישבח מעשיך, וגבורותיך יגידו.
הדר כבוד עודך, ודפרי נפלותיך עשיתך.
ועזוז נורותיך יאמרו, וגדולתך אספרנה.
זכר רב טובך יביעו, בצדקתך ירננו.
חנון ורחום אדוני, ערך אפיים וגדול חסד.
טוב אדוני לכל, ורחמיו על כל מעשיו.
יודוך אדוני כל מעשיך, וחסידיך יברכוך.
כבוד מלכותך יאמרו, וגבורתך ידברו.
יודיע לבני הגבורותיו, וכל דבר מלכותו.
מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דבר דור.
סומך עונה לכל הנופלים, וסוקב לכל הכפופים.
עיני כל אליך יסברו, ואתה נותן להם את אוכלם ביתו.
פותח את ידיך, משביע לכל חי רצון.
צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו, וחסיד בכל מעשיו.
קרוב אדוני לכל קורב, לכל אשר יקראו באמת.
רצון יראיו יעשה, ואת שבתם ישמע ויושיעם.
שומר אדוני כל אוהביו, ואת כל רשעים ישמיד.
תהילת אדוני ירבר פי, ויברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד.
ואנחנו נברך יה מעתה ועד עולם, הללויה. Psalm 150 on page 218.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. כל הנשמה תהלליה. Hallelujah, hallelujah. כל הנשמה תהלליה. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. We continue on page 223. You shall always be praised, great and holy God, our sovereign in heaven and on earth. Songs of praise and psalms of adoration become you, acknowledging your might and dominion. Yours are strength and sovereignty, sanctity, grandeur, and glory always. We offer our devotion, open our hearts in acclamation. ברוך אתה אדוני אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודעות אדון הנפלאות, המוהד בשירי זמרה, מלך אלכי העולמים.
חצי קדיש, page 224. יתקבל ויתקדש שם ברבה, אל מה דיברה חילותי, ימליך מלכותי. בחייכון וביומייכון, ובחיי לכל בית ישראל. בעגלה בעגלה, ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יש רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולם ולעולם. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שם מלך קודשה. יקחו לילה מן כל מלכתה ושירתה, ושבחתה ונחמתה, דעם בהירן ועלמה, ויאמרו אמן.
We rise for Baruchu, page 226. ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך,
המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, יוצר אור ובורא חושך, עושה שלום ובורא את הכל, המאיר לארץ ולעדרים עליה ברחמים, ובטובו ומחדש בכל יום תמיד, מעשה וראשית. מה רבו מעשיך, אדוני כולם בחוכמה עשית, מלאה הארץ קנייניך. תתברך אדוני אלוהינו, על שבח מעשה ידיך, ועל מאורי אור שעשית, יברך סלה. אור חדש על ציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו מרע לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני, יוצר המאורות. How deeply you have loved us, Adonai, our God, gracing us with surpassing compassion, on account of our forebears, whose trust led you to teach them the laws of life. Be gracious to us, teaching us as well. O merciful one, have mercy on us, by making us able to understand and discern, to heed, learn, and teach, and lovingly to observe, perform, and fulfill all that is in your Torah. Enlighten our eyes with your Torah, focus our minds on your mitzvot, unite our hearts in love and reverence for your name. Then we will never feel shame, never deserve rebuke, and never stumble. Having trusted in your great and awesome holiness, we shall celebrate your salvation with joy. Gather us in peace from the four corners of the earth and lead us upright to our land. For you, O God, work wonders. You chose us, truly. You drew us near to your great name, that we might acknowledge you, declaring you one in love. Praise be you, Adonai, who chooses your people Israel in love.
ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה.
שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. Please be seated and join me in a chanting of Ve'afta. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם בניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
We continue in the middle of page 239. The eternal truth is that you alone are God and there is none else.
May the righteous of all nations rejoice in your love and exalt in your justice.
Let them beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks.
Let nation not lift up sword against nation, nor learn war anymore.
You shall not hate your brother or your sister in your heart.
The stranger that sojourns with you shall be accepted as your equal, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt.
Why do you crush my people and oppress the poor? Asks God.
We know that the Eternal One defends the poor and upholds the right of the needy.
Praise to God Most High.
Blessed is God and deserving of blessing.
בקודש נורא תהילות אוסף אלה נורא תהילות אוסף אלה מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נהדר בקודש מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נהדר בקודש.
Continue with Tzur Israel at the bottom of the page. Tzur Israel, Kuma Bezrat Israel, Uvdechinu Mecha Yehuda Be'Israel, Koho Aleinu Adonai Tzevot Shemo Kedosh Israel, Baruch Ata Adonai Ka'al Israel.
We rise for the Amidah, page 242. Adonai sebaitei tifta ufi yagid tehilatecha Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא אל עליון גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניכם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מאיה כל אתה רב להושיע משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם מכלכל חיים בחסד מחייך הכל ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומטיל אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל.
נקדש את שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרו הכתוב על יד נביאך וכרזל זה ואמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות בכל הארץ אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ ברוך כבוד אדוני במקומו אחד הוא אלוהינו הוא אבינו מלכנו ומושיענו והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו לעיני כל חי אני אדוני אלוהיכם לעולם, אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, בשבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Very well. Thank you so much. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. מקדש שביעי שבת, כל עם ישמחו ויתענגו בטובך שבת. ישמחו שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו שבת. דתיה ממותו קראת, אותו קראת השבת. ישמחו שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. זכר למעשה בראשית. Sorry. Okay. Trying. Okay. So, I have so many devices here. Okay. So, you don't see that here, but people online notice that some glitches there, here and there. But I hope you forgive me. Okay. We continue on page 252. A great pianist was asked, "How do you handle the notes so well?" The artist answered, "The notes I handle no better than many pianists, but the pauses between the notes. That is where great art resides. In great living, the art may be in the pauses." Shabbat is the pause between the notes. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh Shabbat. Page 254, Retzeh. Retzeh Adonai Eloheinu Be'amecha Yisrael U'tefilata me'ava tekaveh U'tegil ratzon Tabit avodat Yisrael ישראל עמך. אל קרוב לכל קורב פני אל עבדך וחננו שפך רוחך עלינו ותחסד עינינו ושובך לציון ברחמים ברוך אתה אדוני המחסיר שכינתו מודים אנחנו לך. To you we give thanks, giver of life and all good gifts. Grant us also wisdom to use only what we need, courage to trust your bounty, imagination to preserve our resources, determination to deny frivolous excess, and inspiration to sustain through temptation. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose goodness deserves thanks and praise. Baruch atah Adonai, atov shimcha ulechanai lehodot. We continue with silent meditation. We continue with Torah service on page 362. Let me see if I can do everything at once. I'm telling you, this is getting more and more complicated. Probably because I am a perfectionist, and so I want to do things that, check all the boxes. Sometimes we can, sometimes we don't, but we'll see. Let's see. Okay. Give me one moment. Okay.
Ein kamocha ba'Elohim Adonai ואין כמעשיך מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים וממשלתך בכל דור ודור אדוני מלך אדוני מלך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד אדוני עוש לעמו ייתן אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום הרחמים היטיבה ברצונך בציון תבנה אומות ירושלים תבנה אומות ירושלים כי בך לבד בטחנו מלך אל רם ונישא אדון עולמים כי מציון תצא תורה כי מציון תצא תורה ולבד אדוני בירושלים ברוך שנתן תורה ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו שמע ישראל Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adoneinu, Kadosh Shemo. Kadelul Adonai iti, Uhoner Amemah Shemo Yachdav. Lecham Adonai Hagedol Hagevora Ve'atiferet Ve'anetzach Ve'aod. Ki kol v'shamayim u'va'aretz, Ki kol v'shamayim u'va'aretz. Lecha Adonai הממלכה ימית נעשה לכל ראש. רממו, רממו, אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו, והשתחוו, לאדון רגליו קדושו. רממו, רממו, אדוני אלוהינו, והשתחוו, והשתחוו, להר קודשו, כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו. So, we had enjoyed so far the leading of services by Fernando. That was great what you did back then 2 weeks ago for your bar mitzvah, and today again. I think all the community rejoiced in seeing you, leading services the way you did. Now, 2 weeks ago he read Parashat Lech Lecha, which was the Parashat of the week, and I had the chutzpah, to ask him for today to learn a new Torah portion. Okay, so he did. I didn't have the chutzpah just to ask him for another Dvar Torah. That was probably too much to ask. So, but in a way, what he wrote 2 weeks ago for Parashat Lech Lecha was very meaningful. And this is great Torah, and Torah it's not attached to a particular parasha. Torah, when we teach something valuable, I think we can say it in any moment. So I want to invite him again to the Bima to do the Dvar Torah that he gave 2 weeks ago for Parashat Lech Lecha.
At my bar mitzvah 2 weeks ago, I spoke about that week's Torah portion, Lech Lecha, where we are introduced to Abraham and Sarai, who later in the portion changed their names to become Abraham and Sarah. At God's command, they traveled from their homeland into Egypt and eventually into the Promised Land. While they begin their journey with Abraham's nephew, Lot, eventually they realize that the land cannot sustain both families, so they go their separate ways. Abraham then successfully goes to battle with the 5 kings who are occupying the land. Sarah is unable to become pregnant and eventually instructs Abraham to have a child with her Egyptian servant Hagar. Ishmael is born. In the section that I will be chanting today, Abraham is commanded by God to leave his home country and to go where God will show him. God promises Abraham, "I will make you a great nation, I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing." Abraham leaves for Canaan, where God begins to build his wealth and prestige. Eventually, the family goes into Egypt because of a famine in the land, where they have an encounter with Pharaoh. Later in the Torah portion, God commands all of the males to circumcise the flesh of their foreskin. God commands Abraham to circumcise himself, his son, and all of his male servants. You might wonder, why did God tell Abram to circumcise himself? And why do we Jews continue to do this to this day? Most commentators suggest that this was done because God wanted to make Israel different and separate from other nations. The Torah tells us a more direct reason. It was a sign of the covenant between God and Abram. That is the reason why we call this ritual Brit Milah, the covenant of circumcision. It has now become a sign of the agreement between God and the Jewish people. As I thought further about this very ancient ritual, 3 questions came to my mind. Why would God command us to cause our sons any form of pain? The great medieval biblical commentator Rambam tells us that the pain is intentional to show how much a Jew is willing to sacrifice even at an early age. In fulfilling this command, parents too must demonstrate their strong commitment to God and Judaism. But if God wanted us to be circumcised, why didn't God just create us without a foreskin? We can answer this question with the Jewish tradition about a Roman coming to Rabbi Akiva to ask the very same question. Rabbi Akiva responds that God created the world incomplete in order that human beings could continue and complete the creative process. God wanted humanity to work instead of having everything handed to us. We know that if we are given everything without any effort, we may not deserve it, and we will certainly not appreciate it as much as if we needed to put some effort in. One final question. Why does God require us to remove the foreskin and not some other part of the body? Rabbi David Kimchi Radok said that the mark must be made on the organ of procreation to symbolize that each Jew must overcome his animal instincts. Animals made on instinct. God wanted to remove the foreskin because it reminds us that we have ultimate control over our bodies. We can act or not act using more than our instincts and senses. While God asked us to do a Brit Milah, it is not a sign that God needs. Rather, it is something that reminds us of the reason why we committed to God and to being part of the Jewish people. It is similar to when a couple gets married and they exchange rings to demonstrate their commitment and devotion. A verbal agreement is not enough. We could possibly forget that contract. We could argue that we did not really mean it. But when we do a Brit Milah, it is a permanent reminder of our covenant.
Very good. Great teaching. So we are not reading Parashat Lech Lecha, of course that's from the past. We are reading Parashat Hayei Sarah today, in which we talk about the death of Sarah. Maybe the camera is not on me. 1 second. Okay, sorry. We are reading from Parashat Hayei Sarah, which is interesting to say that even if, the Torah portion that talks about, or the title of the portion says Hayei Sarah, the life of Sarah, it begins with the death of Sarah. So commentators always often ask, why is that so? And I think one of the reasons also to think about this is, of course, it is the beginning of the portion. The title of the portion usually is given by the first words, but also it makes us think that even in times of death, okay, as we experience it with the life of Sarah, we should always focus on life, always on life. So even if we, in times of sorrow, when we lose someone, think about the life, the span of the life of someone who was important in our lives. What was the achievement? How do we measure quantity against of quality? Which is something that Rabbi explained yesterday. We can think about how many years she lived, 127 years, but yet the most important thing is what you have achieved in life. And definitely Sarah, as Abraham did, they were great examples of what you can do in your life. Whether it's short or whether it's long, always focus on life. That's why it's called Hayei Sarah. So this parasha starts on page 127 in your Etz Chaim commentary, the Red Book. And actually, Fernando is going to read from the beginning of this Torah portion on chapter 23, verse 1. Again, page 127. Okay. We are going to call Fernando by his Hebrew name. Moshe? What's your... No, you. Yeah. Uri? I asked him, he didn't know. If that's... Okay, now you know. So, Yamod Binyamin ben Uri likro la Torah.
ברכו את אדוני המאורך. ברוך אדוני המאורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר ברך בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה. ויהיו חיי שרה 100 שנה ו20 שנה ו7 שנים שני חיי שרה ותמות שרה בקריית ארבע היא חברון בארץ כנען ויבוא אברהם לזבוד לשרה ולבכותה ויקום אברהם מעל בני מתו וידבר אל בני חת לאמור. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
In the presence of the Torah, we think about people in our community, in our midst, that are in need of a prayer of healing. Find the page here. Especially we think on the Shabbat, Ronnie Buchman, Barbara Davis, Ita Rachel Batmalka Cecil, Linda Falcon, Sandy Joe Gordon, Ed Jones, Mindy Elizabeth Jones, Susan Jones, Susan Linsenbaum, Leah Tova Bar, Shammai Ben Michael, Elka Rak, Shaul Ben Moshe Barivka, Mark Rockfeld,
Mark Byron Singer, Rachel Bat René, Belvel Chaim Ben Heskel, Kevin Webb, Judith Bat Rachelia Viankel, Sehava Bat Rachel. מי שברך אבותינו ואמותינו אברהם יצחק ויעקב, שרה רבקה רחל ולאה, הוא יברך את החולים. הקדוש ברוך הוא ימלא רחמים עליהם, להחלימם ולרפאותם, להחזיקם, וישלח לכם מהרה רפואה שלמה מן השמיים, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף, השתה בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ונאמר אמן. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit. And let us say together, Amen. So, just to fulfill the mitzvah, like you're so happy, I'm sure, proud parent here. Mauricio, do you want to lift the Torah? Okay. Yes? And Fernando, come and help me with the Gelila, with dressing up the Torah. Sí, it's okay. בסוד התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה יאי לי רי 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 Yai rai da rai, yara rai rai da rai, yara rai rai da rai 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 rai. Zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai ביד משה יאי לי רי 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 ירי רי 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 ירי רי 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 יאי רי 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 ירה רי רי yara lai 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 yai lai 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 lai. So now we get to read the Haftarah. And I have the privilege to have.
Thank you. I don't need it.
So I have the privilege to have next to me Carol Sheckman, one of the long-standing congregants in Temple Sinai, who is going to help us with the Haftarah, to read the Haftarah in English. I'm going to start with the blessings in Hebrew, and then Carol will tell us what this Haftarah talks about. Give me one moment. Actually, you don't have the page number. Am I right? Let me see. Which one is it? I cannot hear that. 143. 143 in your Etz Chaim commentary. 143. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנביאים טובים ורצה בדבריכם הנאמרים באמת ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בתורה ובמשה עבדו וישראל עמו בנביאי האמת והצדק והמלך דוד הזקן בא בימים ויחזוהו בבגדים ולא יחמלו ויאמרו לו עבדיו יבקשו לאדוני המלך נערה בתולה ועמדה לפני המלך ותהילו סוחדת ושכבה בחיקך וחם לאדוני המלך ויבקשו נערה יפה בכל גבול ישראל וימצאו את אבישג השונמית ויבואו אותה למלך.
Before I begin, I would like to apologize to any biblical scholars. I will be pronouncing a lot of names, and I'm not quite positive how to pronounce them. Then Nathan said to Bathsheba, Solomon's mother, "You must have heard that Adonijah, son of Haggith, has assumed the kingship without the knowledge of our Lord David. Now take my advice, so that you may save your life and the life of your son Solomon. Go immediately to King David and say to him, 'Did not you, O Lord King, swear to your maidservant, your son Solomon shall succeed me as king, and he shall sit upon my throne? Then why has Adonijah become king while you are still there talking with the king? I will come in after you and confirm your words.' So Bathsheba went to the king in his chamber. The king was very old, and Abishag, the Shunammite, was waiting on the king. Bathsheba bowed low in homage to the king, and the king asked, 'What troubles you?' She answered him, 'My lord, you yourself swore to your maidservant by the Lord your God, your son Solomon shall succeed me as king, and he shall sit upon my throne. Yet now Adonijah has become king, and you, my lord, the king, know nothing about it. He has prepared a sacrificial feast of a great many oxen, fatlings, and sheep, and he has invited all the king's sons, and Abiathar the priest, and Joab, commander of the army, but he has not invited your servant Solomon. And so the eyes of all Israel are upon you, O Lord King, to tell them who shall succeed my lord the king on the throne. Otherwise, when my lord the king lies down with his fathers, my son Solomon and I will be regarded as traitors." She was still talking to the king when the prophet Nathan arrived. They announced to the king, "The prophet Nathan is here," and he entered the king's presence. Bowing low to the king with his face to the ground, Nathan said, "O Lord King, you must have said, 'Adonijah shall succeed me as king, and he shall sit upon my throne, for he has gone down today and prepared a sacrificial feast of a great many oxen, fatlings, and sheep. He invited all the king's sons and the army officers and Abiathar the priest. At this very moment they are eating and drinking with him, and they are shouting, 'Long live King Adonijah!' But he did not invite me, your servant, or the priest Zadok, or Benalla, son of Jehoiada, or your servant Solomon. Can this decision have come from my lord the king without your telling your servant who is to succeed to the throne of my lord the king?" King David's response was, "Summon Bathsheba." She entered the king's presence and stood before the king. And the king took an oath, saying, "As the Lord lives, who has rescued me from every trouble, the oath I swore to you by the Lord, the God of Israel, that your son Solomon should succeed me as king, and that he should sit upon my throne in my stead, I will fulfill this very day." Bathsheba bowed low in homage to the king, with her face to the ground, and she said, "May my Lord, King David, live forever."
Thank you, Carol.
You're very welcome.
So I guess that's where this comes from when we say David Melech Israel Chai V'Kayam. So you see, we have the source here of this famous song. We conclude the Haftarah in Hebrew, and I'm sorry if I did not indicate that the Haftarah was, the reading was starting on verse 11. I know you were lost for a while, but I hope you managed to find it. Last three verses of the Haftarah in Hebrew, verse 29. וישבע המלך ויאמר, היי אדוני, אשר פדה את נפשי מכל צרה, כי כאשר נשבעתי לה, באדוני אלוהי ישראל לאמור, כי שלמה בנך ימלוך אחרי, והוא ישב על כיסאי תחתי, כי כן אעשה היום הזה. ותכות בת 7 פעמים מלך, ותשתחו למלך, ותאמר יחי אדוני המלך דוד לעולם. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, צור כל עמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, על הנאמן האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה, שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו מודים לך, מברכים אותך. יתברך שמך בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen. So before we return Torah to the ark, we have to announce the following month. So we do the Rosh Chodesh pension, and I would like everyone to stand. Yehi ratzon milefanecha Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu Ve'imoteinu שתחדש עלינו את החודש הזה לטובה ולברכה, שתחדש עלינו את החודש הזה לטובה ולברכה. ותיתן לנו חיים ארוכים, חיים של שלום, חיים של טובה, חיים של ברכה, חיים של פרנסה, חיים
של חילוץ עצמות. חיים שיש בהם יראת שמיים ויראת חטא, חיים שאין בהם בושה וכלימה, חיים של אושר וכבוד, חיים שתיבדנו אהבת תורה ויראת שמיים, חיים שהימלנו משאלות ליבנו, שהימלנו משאלות ליבנו, שהימלנו משאלות ליבנו, ליבנו לטובה. אמן. סלע. ראש חודש כסלו יהיה ביום שני הבא עלינו ועל כל ישראל לטובה. The new month of Kislev will begin on Monday. May the Holy One renew it for us and for all Israel, for life and peace, joy and gladness, deliverance and comfort. יחדשהו הקדוש ברוך הוא עלינו ועל כל עמו בית ישראל, לחיים ולשלום, לששון ולשמחה, לישועה ולנחמה, ונאמר Amen. Now we return the Torah to the Ark. Page, I think it's 374. כי לקחתם נתתי לכם, תורתי אל תעשו. עץ חיים היא, אל מחזיקים בה, ותומכיה מאושר. ורחיה דרכי נועם, וכל נתיבותיה שלום. השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה. חדש ימינו, חדש ימינו כקדם. We continue with Aleinu, page 586. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל
המונן, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לבני מלך מלכי המלכים וקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Our thoughts turn to the loved ones who we remember in this community. On this Shabbat, we remember the one who passed away in the last 30 days, from whom we are in the period of Shiloshim, Lian El Wasserman, and Jonathan Piken. And also we remember the congregant loved ones whose yardside fall on this week: Miriam Allman, Bruce Potwinick, Sam Tem Brenner, Eleanor Cohen, Jenny Melnick Cohen, Carol Enger Brott, Ruth Ertag, Samuel Feldman, Fanny Iskowitz, Sally Jones, Irma Kingsley, Rose Coven, Dorothy Kovnat, Libby Levy, Wallace Leopold, Solomon Mollo, Bernard Ross, Simi Scheiman. And also we remember those who have memorial, who has plaques in our memorial walls this Shabbat. We join together for Kaddish Yatom, Mourners Kaddish. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, וילמד דברה חילותה, וימליך מלכותה, בחייכון וביומכון, וחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפואר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילם עם כל בריחתה ושירתה, תוש וחתה ונחמתה, תאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יש שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. המקום ינחם אתכם בתוך שערי ולציון בירושלים. May the one who is a source of consolation grant you and your family's consolation together with our mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. You may be seated. So I want to wish you all Shabbat Shalom once again. I didn't do that bad, okay? So many things are going on, but it's some of you know that recently I participated in a synagogue tech forum, okay? Wow, a synagogue tech forum. I was invited. Apparently I built a name. So for building this system, so my task, I was asked by Rabbi David Paskin, who is one of the moderators, to give a tour about what we do here, how we built what we built in the past year. Thanks to wonderful
generosity from Stuart Iselson, we put together all the cameras and everything, but of course there has to be a plan, and it's not only just about having cameras, how to operate. And this made me realize, I posted on Facebook that two things, First of all, I said I had fun doing that because actually I became quite passionate and actually quite, as Rabbi used the word, a medactech. I try to be perfectionist in what we do. Today, actually, you may see here in a camera that point, there is an iPad there that is sitting for a reason. I put an iPad now that is pointed at Juvenal, at the pianist, or yesterday at Marcelo. And then we can split the image. And this is a new camera now that we put, and it's wireless, and I learned that. I'm very proud that, these skills, which I was not taught at the cantorial school, so now we put it in place and we become more and more sophisticated. So, but yet, having said that, having only one person on the bima running all of this is not that easy. It's always good to share the burden with Rabbi Lidwak. But again, thank you for being patient, especially the people online, for if there were any glitches, but hopefully that were not so many. Now, I said at the beginning of the service, Rabbi Lidwak is not with us today here because he's with a family from a congregation as part of the Torah to Go program. Okay, now that the pandemic, of course, is not over, but there is an interest in gathering again, doing some programming. We reset this program of Torah to Go, so that families who wants to have a Torah at home, can benefit from that. We have a Torah that we put it in a case, in an acrylic case, and this is a wandering Torah that can go from home to home. And Rabbi Likwak and I, or Rabbi David, we could go to your place and just have a wonderful gathering and explaining, demystifying what Torah is. Some people sometimes when they see Torah around, they don't even want to touch it. Of course, you cannot touch with the finger the script. You cannot do that. But being around the Torah is a wonderful experience. So I encourage everyone who is watching or here in the sanctuary just to request that from the synagogue office. And again, Rabbi Likwag or myself or Rabbi David, we can go and have a wonderful program around Torah, and you can invite friends or family, and it's a wonderful teaching opportunity. That's why Rabbi Likwag is not today, because he's with one of the families from Gan Sinai. We have some people to thank. First of all, I want to say thank you to the leader of prayers today, Fernando Asael, who showed that he had not forgotten his prayers from 2 weeks ago when he became bar mitzvah. He came again and led it beautifully. And again, I would say this is an open invitation for any time that you want to come again and lead. You know what to do now. So you're an experienced leader. So thank you so much, because really your presence enhanced the service this morning. I want to say thank you to the sponsors of this Shabbat. They are Sharon Botwinick in memory of Bruce Botwinick, Sandy and Don Goodman in memory of Don's mother, Miriam Allman, Maxine E. Schwartz in memory of her mother, Ruth Nuremberg Ertag. Also, you see here definitely in the slide that we have wonderful opportunities to learn and grow. Please take note of those, because we constantly update dates and times. We have some wonderful programs are coming up. First of all, we have on November the 14th an opportunity to join us here on our beautiful campus to do a run, walk or stroll fundraiser whose proceeds will benefit the Children's Bereavement Center and Lift from Loss. So here you have information, but you can call the office if you want more information about it. This again, November the 14th at 9 a.m. here in our campus. We will walk or run or stroll. Either way is fine. It is a good cause. We have an outdoor Shabbat. Yes, this is the time of the year that we can actually have a nice activities outdoors. So starting on November the 19th, every third Friday of the month during the winter, from November to March, we will have an outdoor Shabbat here in the Sisterhood patio. Usual time 6:15. So the next one is going to be in a couple of weeks. So just put that in your calendar. I hope you can come. It's going to be wonderful to gather outdoors. And I think there is one or two more opportunities left to learn with Rabbi David, who is a great scholar, together with Hillel at FIU on Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. Until November 23rd. So actually we have more opportunities. I think we have three more or four more. So every Tuesday until the end of November, 6 p.m. Also in the Sisterhood patio. Also I want to say, I think that's all. Yeah. No, one more thing. Miami Dade, Give Miami Day is happening on November 18th. This is also another opportunity to give, to our community, and by doing that, our community benefits directly from your contributions. So if you have not made your annual giving campaign, also that's a good opportunity to do that through Give Miami Day on November the 18th. So I think that's all. Yes. So the next thing is, as to say, let me see here. I would just say I'm very excited because after this Shabbat, we are going to have our first choir rehearsal in a year and a half. Imagine that. This is, I have here some of the choir members, some of them are coming later. So this is the first gathering that we are going to sing together. Okay, also taking advantage of the winter season, we are going to gather in the Sisterhood patio. Okay, it's open, we can sing there. And again, this is an open invitation. Whoever is watching wants to join us in our choir in the coming weeks. The idea is probably to rehearse on Saturday after services. And so, again, I'm very excited. Personally, I was looking forward to this moment in which we can make music together again with our wonderful, wonderful choir, and Juvenal Correa Salas also as the co-conductor of this choral ensemble. So with that, we are going to finish on page 631, singing the Ladino version of Ein Keloheinu. Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadoneinu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, non como vuestro Dios, non como vuestro Señor, non como vuestro Rey, non como vuestro Salvador. Mi Eloheinu, mi Adoneinu, mi Malkeinu, mi Moshienu, quien como vuestro Dios, quien como vuestro Señor, quien como vuestro Rey, quien como vuestro Salvador. Donde el Eloheinu, donde el Adoneinu, donde le Malkeinu, donde le Moshienu, lo haremos a vuestro Dios, lo haremos a vuestro Señor, lo haremos a vuestro Rey, lo haremos a vuestro Salvador. Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adoneinu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, bendicho vuestro Dios, bendicho vuestro Señor, bendicho vuestro Rey, bendicho vuestro Salvador. Atau Eloheinu, Atau Adoneinu, Atau Malkeinu, Atau Moshienu, tú sos nuestro Dios, tú sos nuestro Señor, tú sos nuestro Rey, tú sos nuestro Salvador. We rise for Kiddush and the Motzi.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובני ישראל אותי לעולם כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. זכור את יום השבת לקדשו, remember the Shabbat and sanctify it. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם פאר פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המוציא לחם מן הארץ. אמן. שבת שלום.